We'll just get going. They're recording. Great. Can send that off to Brian there. Okay. Plant the feet. Planting means change the muscles. Change the muscles in the sole of the foot. Change the muscles in the ankles. Ensure the knees point towards the toes. They're not collapsed in. And let the weight of the body settle onto the legs. You want the weight of the torso to press down through both thighs, into the knees, into the ground, making you nice and stable. With that stability, we'll lift the sternum, lift the back of the neck, just shake into the posture. Loosening up the shoulders. When you do this one, make sure the feet don't grip the ground, make sure the feet are still nice and embedded and settled. Starting to bring the awareness into the structure of the body, into the sensations in the body. This first loosening exercise, we're looking for stability as we move across. We're looking to maintain our upright structure. We're not just looking to move across, we're looking to spiral into stability. So that in this posture, this leg's free, relatively free, just the weight of the leg on the ground. So right from the beginning of the movement, I want to be sinking the knee, relaxing the hip joint, relaxing the lower back, relaxing the weight of the upper body, and allowing the weight of the upper body to find stability. If I'm holding on and just moving, the stability comes from the tension in the body. We want the opposite. Instead of holding ourselves up, we want to allow ourselves in. So the sense is that this is very much letting go into the structure. Sorry, letting go into the position. The more I relax the body, the more there's space for me to move, there's more changes taking place inside the body, and the more the body can just settle in, with gravity pressing me into the position I want to find. You can see I'm not overturning the upper body. There are no twist marks on the shirt, or there shouldn't be anyway. I shouldn't go like this and start to get big twists through the body. Just whatever the hips do, the upper body follows. So you can, if you put one hand on the abdomen, one hand on the chest, so the center of the hand is in line with the center line of the body, and you do the exercise, feel the relationship between the hands. This hand shouldn't be going further than the lower hand. The movement should be guided by the lower hand, and the upper hand sticking to the movement of the lower hand. The hips turn, the hips settle, and the upper body follows. So when we bring the arms in, the same thing is happening with these two parts of the body, but now the arms are simply dropping. Simply dropping. They're not spiraling round. They're not doing this. They're simply dropping, and the body's turning. They're simply dropping, and the body's turning. The arms are doing the same as we do at the beginning of the form. They're simply dropping. The arms are held here. They're simply dropping, and the body's turning. Stabilizing, releasing, smoothly turning, dropping the arms, dropping the shoulders. When the arms drop, of course, they're at their lowest point. So the circle that the fingers draw through space is a low, big, low circle. They're not held up here. They're fully released, just like the beginning of the form, fully released. And then when they reach the center line, they swing up from the elbow. Elbow doesn't come across the center line. Hands don't swing up before the elbow's dropped. The elbow fully drops. Hand swings up. Number 2. Try to instigate the sinking, not by a downward movement, but by a release inside the body. A release in the hip joints, a release in the lower back, to let the weight of the upper body into the hips, into the pelvis. A release here, a release here, to allow the pelvis to be free. If you don't release, the pelvis is held in place by the muscles, and when you move, it'll be locked with the upper body. We want that to be as watery and fluid as possible, so there's a buoyancy, so that when we drop the knee, when we soften the hip joints and let the knee drop, we immediately get support in the legs that we can further drop onto. We then get support here that we can further drop onto. So if you like, it's like sinking, and the water runs down the body, like inside the tube of the leg, the water runs down and it fills back up. And that filling back up is the support onto which we drop the rest of the body. So as we sink, the water table is rising through the body and allows us to drop the rest of the body onto it. That may sound complicated, but as soon as you melt the legs, you should feel more support in the feet, more grounded, more support in the feet. As soon as you melt around the knees and the shins and the thighs, you feel support in the knees that then you can drop onto. You feel support in the center, and you try and find these qualities in your movement. Otherwise, you're just left moving the body up and down, which of course isn't what we want to do. We want the stability to come from the changes inside the body. The changes are smooth and really quite subtle. The first release, it's the legs. On the second release, the abdomen, the water tables rising. On the third release, the upper body and shoulders. On the fourth, swing of the arms, the back of the head, crown of the head. Legs, abdomen, shoulders, back of the neck, crown of the head. Third exercise, sinking and stabilizing. Release the knee, release the upper body, release the shoulder. As the hip moves forward, the shoulder moves forward, the arm swings out. Synchronizing the movement. So it's not do one thing, do another thing. Do one thing and listen to what happens in the body. Do the next thing and listen to what happens in the body. Do the next thing and listen to what happens in the body. And you'll find the timing, you'll find synchronized timing, which is different from the coordinated timing. Coordination is the beginner's level. Coordination is do one thing and do the other thing at the same time. Make sure when the hip finishes, the hand finishes at the same time. Coordination. Synchronization is when you turn the hips, listen for what happens through the body to the shoulder. When you drop the shoulder, listen to what happens with the movement to the hand. So it's much more to do with it's partly to do with the timing, but it's also partly to do with the awareness of the result of what you're doing and listening to what you're doing. So the movement of the arm comes from what happens in the shoulder. The movement of the shoulder comes from what happens in the hips. It's not just move the hips and move the arm at the same time. If you look at a clock moving, you'll see the hands move together. What you don't see are all the little cogs, the mechanical watch inside. They're all synchronized to make the hands come together. When you look at the clock, all you see is the hands come together. When you look at the posture, all you see is everything coming together at the same time. Coordinated movement, you can make all those things happen together, but synchronized movement is when one thing leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, and there's much more of a flow and there's much more of a wave that moves through the body in synchronized movement. And it involves a quality of listening to the body and listening to the changes we make in the body. Not just moving the body. Remember, we're always trying to make Tai Chi go from the outside movements towards being much more controlled by the inner changes of the body. Master Wang said, at the beginning, you're 90% listening to the outer movements of the body, where the hands are, where the feet are, where the hips are, where the body is. 10% listening to the inside changes, the inside relaxations. And as you become more advanced, you change that to being 90% focused on what's happening inside the body. And 10% of your awareness is on where the postures are in space, the external movement of the body. And the fourth exercise. Change. Shoulders sink because the body sinks. because the legs give way. Body falls in, shoulders fall in, arms move in. Whole body's connected, synchronized and connected at this point. We're looking for a chain of movement that comes from the legs changing, the hips releasing, the knees connecting, the torso pushing in by gravity, pressing into the ground, shoulders following, and then the arms moving as a result. Synchronized and connected. We're never looking for the arms moving independently. We're never looking for the movement of the body without the changes, corresponding changes in the body. Every time the hands move through space, it's because either the waist is turning to move the hands sideways, which moves the shoulders, which moves the arms, or the body's sinking and the shoulders are falling into connection and the hand drops. Or the hands move out as a wave of unstretch comes through the body. The movements of the hands, the fingers are the tips of the whip, and the movement comes to the fingers from somewhere else. So the movement downwards of the arm has to come because the shoulder's falling. The shoulder falls into connection and the arm moves. The timing while the shoulder's falling, the arm moves. While the shoulder's falling, the arm moves. Third one. And the fifth loosening exercise. Into the center, drop the back knee. Immediately the back leg fills, sinking onto the front foot and relaxing the upper body. Sit back, open the lower back, let the torso find the back leg. This is similar to the first loosening exercise. Sit back, the leg changes, the upper body drops. Continue that process as you come into the center. In the center, the hips are fluid. Drop the back knee, sink to the front foot, relax the upper body all at the same time. Take the weight forwards, but don't move forwards. Let the front knee bend, but don't bring it forwards. Keep the hips seated. Drop the back knee, open the lower back, open the front hip joint, and at the same time drop onto the front leg. Relax the upper body, which allows the back leg to compress and expand. As you move in to the center, continue into the front leg. So the timing doesn't stop in the center and then you do something else. It's one smooth movement in, drop the knee, sink to the front foot, and it's one smooth movement, continue through. So as you move in, you don't stop in the center and do something different. You move into the center. You move onto the front foot, you drop the back knee, and you move up through. Sit back. Sink. sink, connect, release, release. Heel goes out, connect, sink and release. Turn. Sit back. Find the center. Don't stop in the center. Drop the knee, sink to the front foot, drop the upper body through. Body has to squash and open in the center. Body has to squash. If it doesn't move forwards or the weight doesn't shift to the front leg, it can't open. So you need to move in, compress the back leg, move to the front so that compression can immediately, it's a dynamic compression, immediately expand. If you hold it there, it's not going to change. You need to move forward so that it has somewhere to go. The compression that we make in the back leg has to find somewhere to go. You have to create space or change so that the pressure moves, finds its natural balance point. If there's no weight of the body on the back leg will expand. So the weight goes to the front leg, but it doesn't go to the front leg by moving over the front leg or moving forward. It goes to the front leg by sinking onto the front leg. And sit right back. So there's a lot in the Fit 5 loosening exercises. I've kind of gone into some of the dynamics and some of the details of the 5 loosening exercise. And for everyone studying, for everyone training Tai Chi, there'll be 1 or 2 key points to work with for yourselves. Some will be working really well. If you try and do all of those things, it might well be too much and overwhelming. And you'll know for yourself with Tai Chi that you have to build like the layers of a house building. So if you're holding on in your body somewhere, you have to work with that. You kind of recognize what in your body is kind of holding you back, right? And maybe you're feeling busy or your mind is all over the place. So yeah, just take a cup of tea, settle down and be with yourself a little bit more before you do your practice. It might be that you've got an injury and you need to go gently with it. You have to really listen to yourself with Tai Chi because it's your practice and it's your exploration of yourself. That's the key to it. It's not about doing Tai Chi, right? We use a model, we work in a certain way to push ourselves to find these things so that in the doing process of that, we understand ourselves. We understand where we're held, where we're blocked, where we're tense, how we can find that way to being more free and more loose and more freedom of movement in ourselves, right? So having a very structured roadmap gives us the chance to see where we are in it. And that's the key to Tai Chi. There's nothing special about Tai Chi, it's just that it's a very clear roadmap the way we're working. And you have to be focused in your practice with it, rather than just going through. Because if you just go through your practice, if the edges become blurred, if you're not looking at the principles, then you don't see your habitual things and what you're doing. Right? So you have to go gently with yourself. You have to go easy with yourself. And when you've got good concentration, really go into it. And when you haven't got good concentration, just go really gently with yourself. Find your grounding, find your relaxation. Work with it that way. So tonight, I want to work with a kicking section because I had a question from somebody asking about the kicking section. And every single move of the form, put it another way, the loosening exercises give us the clue of what's going on in the rest of the form. So When we look for the principles in the loosening exercises, we should try and see, is that principle operating in this posture in the form? So for example, when I go into the kicking section, regardless of the movement, but the dropping in, obviously I'm upright. Obviously I'm sinking. I'm not sticking my bum out and I'm not holding on. Straightforward. I'm spiraling in as I sink. As I drop my shoulders, my elbows are dropping and my hands are going into the posture. There's a moment when I'm buoyant. That's the moment at which the foot comes off the ground and kicks. It's a bit like the first loosening exercise in that I'm spiraling in, and in this position I can take this foot off the ground. You have to be very careful in the kicking section that when you come to kick here, you're still sinking. You're not got to a place where you stop and hold on and then do something, because immediately you'll hold yourself. You want to be finding that buoyant place where you're dynamically pressed onto the ground, and it only lasts a moment, only lasts as long as you're still changing in a sinking way. You've got that stability. So that stability comes from pressing in. It's like a beach ball, literally. While you're pressing onto a beach ball, you've got the stability. During that moment, you've got that stability, you can pick up the foot and do what you want with the foot, because it doesn't, the foot that kicks doesn't control your stability. Your stability is controlled by your core changing and pressing onto the ground. This foot's free during that moment. And it should be that if someone, I'm holding on now, you see I'm pushing myself out, I'm not thinking about it, I'm not dropping. Now I'm dropping. It should be that if someone was to push on your leg, it pushes you onto the ground. If someone was to get hold of your foot and push into your foot, the force should push you onto the ground at the moment of kicking. How does that work? If you put a load of things in a straight line, like a train, and you push one of them, it pushes the back one. That's easy to see because they're in a straight line. It's not so easy to see how the force coming up the leg is going to push me onto the ground. But it's easy to see how, if the body is held, then any force coming up the leg is just going to push my center backwards. And I'm going to rock on my foot. So if this is held, my center of balance moves backwards, I lose my stability. That's exactly what we don't want to happen. So to counteract it, I have to focus on sinking, finding stability, pushing the foot out. And you can throw somebody with your foot. What we do in the push hands class sometimes is put the foot against someone's upper shin. As we sink, we just push the foot out and they'll lose their balance, because the force you're pushing into, so push into here with my foot, the force here pushes me onto the ground, gives me more stability, and I'm putting quite a lot of force onto the fireplace there. But it's not pushing me backwards. I'm sinking here, I'm sinking here, I'm sinking here, and it's pushing me onto the ground. And their resistance pushes you onto the ground and they'll lose their balance and it'll uproot them. So that said, which is the principles of what we're looking for in the posture, let's look at the sequence from snake creeps down. So I'll do it facing the camera. You can have a look first. And then we'll do it together. And I'll point out the key things. Snake creeps down. Back of the wrist at the height of the shoulder, 2 fingers below here. Hips and shoulders straight ahead. One span. Fingers stay in place. Turn and open the left foot. Sit away from the left hand. Turn and drop the left hand. Sink down. Turn the hips and open the front toes. Move into the center. Drop the back knee and through onto the front leg. Sit back. Open the left foot. Hop onto the left. This is over and sink. Spiral. Release. Same thing, while you're releasing, sinking, you can pick up the knee. I held on a little bit. While you're sinking and spiraling, you can pick up the knee. Again, it's not guaranteed every single time. It's completely what you do in your body, whether you get it right or wrong. If you're not 100%, if you're tight somewhere, and I've been doing Taiji coming up 40 years, and it still doesn't always work for me. So it's not about getting it right or wrong. That really isn't the issue. It's about knowing how to make it happen so that when you want to and when you're fully focused, step. Remember, it's dynamic. So as you're sinking and stabilizing, that's when you get the connection. Turn to the corner. Sit away. Turn open. Turn back. Position yourself facing the corner with the left hand on the inside. Spiral up. Hands lift the right hand underneath, palm down at the height of the brow. This is dynamic. Sinking. Releasing the shoulder girdle. Push the toe out and drop. Move on to the foot. Turn to the corner halfway through the step. Lift the hands. Turn open. Bring the toes in. Turn back. Bring the heel in. Hands at the height of the throat, crossed. Turn open. The hands turn over and lift to the height of the brow. The whole body's going to sink and spiral. Dynamic. Pressed onto the ground. Buoyant. Kick. Turn. Step behind. Another one. Spiral. The hands turn over and out. Buoyant. In the release. Pick up the knee. Push out the heel. Let's do that together. Facing the camera. Single whip. Upright structure in the middle. The legs supporting the weight, buoyantly supporting the weight of the body. Keep the index finger exactly where it is. Turn around the line between the index finger and the elbow. Sit away. Turn and drop the hand. Sink, open and through. Drop the back knee. Sink to the front foot. Wave to the hand. Sit back. Turn open the left foot. Hop onto the left. Now you're going to sink and spiral. Pick up the knee. Place the toe behind, sit back from the fingers, turn to the corner, the hand onto the left shoulder. Sink and spiral. Pick up the knee. Turn to the corner, step behind, scoop up with the right fingers, sit away from the right hand, left hand on the hip joint, facing the corner, turn over. Turn back. Notice here when you open, As you turn the waist, the hand lifts. As you turn the waist back, the hand folds. Exactly the same as we've done earlier in the form. When you turn open, the hand lifts. When you turn back, it folds. Coordinated and synchronized. Hands cross at the height of the throat. Spiral up. Here the hands are on top of the ball, palm down. Here they were facing you. The right hand facing you. Left hand away. Left hand on top. Hips turn, shoulders turn, arms turn. Right hand is going to pull through the left and drop to the corner, parallel to the ground, one span from the body. Left hand is just going to drop straight down to the corners. Right hand moves with the turning of the body and then drops. Left hand just drops straight down. Hands at 90 degrees to the corners. Sinking, stabilizing, releasing, torso, shoulders, elbows. Held on, didn't work that time, do it again. Open, drop the knee, drop the upper body in, there we go, there's the stability. Then the shoulders, pick up the foot, push out the heel. But this is something you have to work at to make it, not to fool yourself that you're holding on. You have to try it again and again. Open the knee, open the hip, drop the knee. Feel the stability, drop onto the stability. Make it a real sensation in your body, not just getting to a place and suddenly doing a kick that's unstable. Place the heel. Walk onto it, halfway through, turn the foot, swing to the corner, bring in the left foot, turn open. Exactly the same, but now mirror imaged on the other side. Hands cross the height of the throat, facing the corner. Left towards you, right away from you, turn. Now the right is on top of the ball. Drop the knee, feel the stability, drop the upper body, drop the shoulders, feel the stability, pick up the knee, push out the toe, relax, turn the waist. Step behind and quickly onto the right foot, hands crossed at the height of the throat, turn the waist. Hands lift to the height of the brow. Now they're away from, both palms away from you, stuck at the point of the wrist. They were towards you. Now they're away from you and have risen up to the height of the brow. Sink, drop the knee. Waist, torso, shoulders, stable, kick with the heel. Hands are at 90 degrees. One hand forward, one to the side, parallel to the ground, one span to the body. Sink, pick up the knee, push out the heel, and stabilize. Do it a little bit faster. Single whip. Snake creeps down. Golden rooster stands on left. Golden rooster stands on right. Turn to the corner. Step behind. Sit away from the right hand. All the weight on the left. Turn open. Bring the toes in. Turn back. Bring the heels of the right in. Facing the corner. Hands at the height of the throat. Spiral up. Hands at the height of the brow, turn down, sink, connect, Walk to the corner, halfway through the step, turn to the front, onto the right foot, swing up to face the corner. Turn open. Bring in the toes of the left, turn back, bring in the heel of the left, hands crossed at the height of the throat, spiral up, the hands turn over. Release, stabilize, drop onto it, pick up the knee, push out the toe. Turn to the right, step behind. Small amount of weight goes onto the ball of the left foot, turn the right in, and then quickly onto the right foot, hands crossed. Turn, hands stick together at the wrist, they lift to the height of the brow, turn back, stabilize, kick with heel. I'm going to ask you if you've got any thing you want me to go over in that or any questions. It's quite a big chunk of the form. I got no idea how that came across on Zoom at all, if it was too much, if it was hit the right spot. So I'm kind of like, I need a bit of help. I don't know if it was way over your head or if it was useful.
It's difficult to see you and do that because there's quite a lot of movement in it, isn't there?
Okay. Jim, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I'd like you to do it. That was very helpful, actually, especially the bit about sinking and kicking. But I'd like you to do it from the other way, so I can. You face the curtain, and then we can face the curtain too.
Okay, sure. So, like I'm at the front of the class.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Let's do it that way. Let's do it that way. Then we can do it together. Okay. Before we do, are there any other? Have you got anything else about it?
No, that was really helpful. Obviously, I've got a lot of work to do on that, but shifting of the weight from one leg to the other, it's quite complicated, really.
Yeah, it is. That's why I say I'm not sure how if it's how it comes across on Zoom. Obviously, in a class, you'd see me, and we could stop more often, and we could have questions in the middle of it all. You know. So I'm just trying to work out how Zoom's the best way to put these sort of complex things across, really.
Is it a kick with the heel or the toe or the foot?
The first two are with the toe.
Okay.
And the kick is to the just underneath the knee. Right, it's meant to be a kick to here on the kneecap. So the first two are as you sink, you're stabilizing, you pick up the knee and you push out the toe to the height of the kneecap. That's the first two kicks. And then when you turn round, it's a kick with heel. So as you sink here, you pick up the knee and you push out the heel to the groin.
Thank
That's
you.
a kick to the groin with a heel. Okay?
Yeah.
It could either be to the groin or to someone's hips to push them off center, but particularly to the groin's more effective. Anyway, we're not hurting people. But you have to look at where it's come from. Let's do it like you said, Jim. Let's do it facing the opposite way. We'll go from single whip. Take your time before you even begin to soften the legs, to let the weight of the torso in. Soften the hip joints. Feel the weight of the torso pushing on your legs into the ground. Find that buoyancy before you begin. Single whip. Onto the front foot, turn. Open the heel, sit back from the left fingers. Turn and drop the left hand. Left toes come in. Sink and drop the fingers and the left arm straight down. Turn open, the toes of the left open, and move through into the center. As you do, dropping the right arm, drop the back knee, Sink to the front foot, relax the upper body, a wave comes through to the hands. Sit back, turn open the left foot, hop onto the left. Now I'm facing 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. Sink down, I'm going to be facing 12 o'clock. As I stabilize and pick up the knee, facing 12 o'clock. Step behind, sit back, I'm turning. Now all my weight is on the right foot, I'm facing 1:30. I'm turning back to 12 o'clock, spiraling down while I'm stabilizing. Now I'm facing 12 o'clock again. I'm going to turn to 1:30. I step behind with the left foot. I scoop out and I sit back. I'm facing 1:30. This is the direction I'm going to kick towards. So I turn open. Now I'm facing 12 o'clock. I turn back to 1:30. My hands are crossed. There's no weight in the right foot. I'm facing 1:30. I turn to 12 o'clock. The hands lift. I turn back, dropping the hand to 1:30, dropping the opposite hand to 10:30, stabilizing, picking up the foot, pushing the toes out to 1:30. Foot's down towards 1:30, I walk onto it. Halfway through the step, I turn it to 12 o'clock and I swing through to 10:30 and bring in the left foot. I turn open, my body's now facing 12 o'clock. I turn back, facing 10:30. Turn to 12 o'clock and lift the arms. I turn back, dropping the left hand to 10:30, the right hand to 1:30. The body stabilizing. Pick up the knee, push out the toe to 10:30. Drop the hands. Turn towards 1:30. The hands lift. Step behind. And turn towards 6 o'clock. Turn open to 9 o'clock. Turn back. 6 o'clock. Pick up the knee, push out the heel, and 6 o'clock. Finishing there with the hands on the center line. One up and one down. Let's do that again. Single whip. Onto the left foot, turn open the right toes, turn open the right heel, sit back. Turn and drop the left hand, sink. Through and into the center. Sit back, onto the left foot, facing the corner, drop facing the front. Golden Rooster stands on left. Step behind, turn to the corner. Turn back to face the front, spiraling down, stabilizing. Golden Rooster stands on right leg, turn to the corner. Step behind, facing the corner. Turn open. Turn back to face the corner, 1:30. All the weight now on the left leg. Turn open, the hands lift. Turn back, sinking, spiraling in, stabilizing, kick to the corner. Walk to the corner, walk to the front, swing through to the opposite corner, hands lift, turn open. Turn back to face the corner, 10:30, all the way to 100% on the right leg, turn open. Sink and stabilize to the corner. Relax, turn to the waist, to the right, step behind, swing through. All the way to 100% on the right leg facing 6 o'clock. Turn the waist, hands lift. Release, stabilize, kick with heel. Okay. That's quite a section to be accurate on. I mean, from an internal from an external, getting everything in the right place and then doing the internals, it's quite a section in the form, right? So you have to go slowly with it. You have to do it by yourself after the class at some other point in time, and just ask yourself, can I remember all those details? And then see if you can bring the internal qualities into what you do. Right, go through it like we've done today. We haven't gone through the whole form in the class. We've just chosen a section of the form, and we've kind of like, you know, really gone into that section in detail. And that excuse me, that's a really constructive way to practice. You know, so what you might normally do in your practice would be go through the form a couple of times. Instead of doing that, or do the loosening exercises in the form, really break down one particular section. See if you understand the accuracy of the move. See if you understand the coordination of the move. See if you can find the synchronization of the move. See if you can find the principles in each part of the move. And then it'll give you a kind of like a feedback. Part of me is not quite understanding this. Then you can either come to me with a question, or you can keep at it in your own practice, see what comes. You know, that's kind of a good way to practice, is to spend 5 or 10 minutes just going through one section a few times and looking for those principles in it.
Were you, Luke, were you doing that as if you were at the head of a class?
Yeah, good.
Because I thought I ought to be pointing, you know, like west.
Yeah.
I got a bit confused, but I thought really that that you should be starting the single whip like that rather than like that.
Yeah, technically, if I was doing a form, if I started a form at 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
by the time I got to single whip, I'd probably be 9 o'clock. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
But what I wanted to do is I just wanted to do it in a way that you were, like Jim asked, so you were behind me.
Sure.
And you could use the camera there as you could use your screen as a reference as you were going through it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And the whole thing about the Zoom is it's really, I mean, I imagine to use it well, you have to kind of rewatch some of the recordings and just hone in on a small bit of it and check it out yourself. Because if you're trying to go through the thing with me, you can't see what I'm doing either. So it's not as straightforward as in a proper class. But we'll get back to proper classes at some point. I hope, fingers crossed. You never know. Be nice to do some push hands, wouldn't it? Yeah. We miss the push hand. We all miss the push hands. Good.
Sorry,
Kath.
I was just thinking I'd like to do some push hands just to put some of the things I've learned while training with you into practice to see if, because you know, I don't really know whether I would have any effect on another person just yet, but
Sure.
in relation to
Sure. Well, the whole thing with push hands is that you really get that reflection if what you're doing in the form is accurate or not. And if you are creating a buoyancy in your own posture and someone presses into you and you can time your changes to receive their force, then they're pushing you onto the ground, and then the whole thing has a life to it, right? So when someone's pushing into you, that's the force that you use. That's what sets the whole thing in process. So in our own practice, we release, but in push hands, it would be the partner's force coming in that we blend with to make us release at the same timing. So it's just like they're pushing onto a beach ball. So that springiness that we get, they feel that in their touch. It feels like they can keep pushing, but at the same time, something's coming back to them. And that's the quality of push hands that we want. So we never resist the person, but we allow them in. But as they come in, there's that buoyancy that they feel. That'll go straight through to their feet. So, you know, when we get a chance to do push hands, that'll be, you know, we can do it. The lucky people are the people who, you know, got 2 people doing Tai Chi in their household.
Or if you live in the Isle of Man at the moment.
Yeah, the Isle of Man, exactly. Yeah, that would be ideal. All get a one-way ticket to the Isle of
Yeah,
Man.
they wouldn't let us in.
I know, not with our false certificates anyway. Anyway, that's a whole nother level, isn't it?
Talk about 3 legs, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, there's a lot in that kicking section. There's a lot in it because it brings in the releasing we've got from exercise number 1, loosening exercise number 1, and all that balance that we have to have has to come from the releasing. And if you just take that away as a nugget from the class, right, the turning and the stability all has to be like the first loosening exercise. That is, like I always say, I always like to think of, what can you train? You know, here are the big ideas of Tai Chi, here are the loads of information. What can you actually take away and train? If you can get stable by melting and letting gravity press you in and get buoyant, then that is the kind of like the crux of everything, really. Otherwise, we're just holding ourselves off the ground, tightening the muscles and getting balance just by kind of holding on. We want the complete opposite of that. And that would be like the essence of the lesson, really, if I kind of took away all the detail and just said, what's the essence of the lesson? That would be the quality we're looking for.
Yeah, I think one of the things which actually it's helped a lot, but is that we're on the one leg and we're moving the waist one way, then the other, and then the other again. We're staying on the one leg, sinking all the time, presumably.
Yeah.
Whereas what we normally do is, and in the exercises, the loosening exercises, we move from one leg to the other.
Sure.
As we sink. Here we're sinking on one leg, moving, and yet we're moving, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it's a very different.
When you're on, it's a good point, Jim, because when you're on one leg and you're turning one way and you're turning back, you're opening this way and then turning back on one leg, you have to make sure that that movement doesn't interfere with your stability. Because if you're holding on and you go out of alignment, it's going to affect your, so that the foot on the ground and the knee on the ground and the center on the ground and the chest on the ground all have to stay in buoyancy as you turn your center. Because if you move anything off or lose that buoyancy or move out of alignment, everything goes to pot. So you have to find that place where you're buoyantly resting, and then you can turn your center and turn your center back and still maintain that connection. And you can think of that in push hands. For example, when someone pushes on you here in single push hands, you sit back, you're on the back leg and you turn open and you turn back and then you move into push. And you sit back, you turn one way, yield, and then you turn back. It's the same in a way, because all my weight's on the back leg, I'm turning one way and I'm turning back. Or in the form, in another place in the form, it's the same as sit back, roll back, turn one way, turn back, all on one leg, and then move in. In a way, it's not that different. In a way it is, because you're picking your leg off the ground and definitely being fully on one leg, but in another way that turning of the waist is a common movement. Have to make sure it doesn't throw you off out of stability. So next week when we come back, everyone will have that one wrapped up.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Great. Look, if there's anything in the week, just email me. We haven't gone over the whole of the form, but you know the form anyway. It's really a matter of putting the principles into our forms now, and making sure that in each move we really understand the dynamics of the move as much, and the accuracy and the dynamics as much as kind of like knowing the moves, you know. Okay. Good. I'll send you the recording. Keep well.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Luke.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks a lot. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Luke. Cheers.
Yeah, nice one.